Criminal, get out. How selfish and unreasonable those two were. What did I do wrong? After losing my husband and being completely devastated, they were the ones who spoke kindly to me. I truly appreciated being invited to live here. But that treatment was unacceptable. My daughter-in-law accuses me of ruining their family, and my son just goes along with it. And then, they labeled me a criminal and told me to leave this house. Fine, I would give them what they wanted if they insisted so much. I'll be out by today. But they had no idea, they would regret it if they kept underestimating me like that. I decided to make them regret that they treated me like a criminal. My name is Mary. It had been 8 years since my husband passed away when I turned 50. Back then, I was falling apart after losing him. The ones who helped me were my son David and his wife Emily, with whom I was living. Mary, why don't you come and live with us, if you like? David, standing next to her, nodded in agreement with a kind smile. I accepted their kind offer and decided to live with them. Since they didn't have kids and both worked, they seemed frustrated with not being able to keep up with the housework. So I took it upon myself to handle it for them. However, I couldn't just do housework all the time, so 6 months later, I started working part-time at a nearby grocery store. I used half of my monthly salary for living expenses and a little bit of the remaining money for my own savings. I lived like that for 8 years. I'd like to say I was living a peaceful and happy life together, but life wasn't so easy. Mary, did you clean the room? It's a bit dusty. Didn't I tell you I'm allergic to house dust, so daily cleaning is essential? I'm sorry, I was suddenly asked to work overtime. I just got home a little while ago. I'll do it quickly now, so I hope you'll let me go. I don't want to hear that excuses. I need you to do your work and your chores properly. Do you understand that you are only able to live here thanks to me? Whenever I fell short on housework, Emily would berate me like that. She told me that since she was letting me live there, I should do the housework properly. And David would chime in with her. Seriously, do the housework thoroughly. You're only working part-time and you're acting like you're exhausted. Emily and I work full-time. Do you want to be kicked out? And that was still the better one. Sometimes, they'd say even worse things. The other day, after leaving a simple message that I should do the housework, since it was my day off, they got dressed up and quickly went out. Naturally, I stayed behind to do all the housework. I'd like to relax when I have a day off too. After finishing all the housework, I was enjoying the few remaining hours of rest in my room. Then, they came home earlier than expected. Huh? Why isn't dinner ready? Mary. Hearing Emily's voice from downstairs, I jumped out of bed in a hurry. The sun was setting outside the window. It was already this late. I tapped my face to wake up and clear my head. Rushing downstairs, I found them sitting on the sofa, glaring at me. Oh, sorry, I was just a bit tired and had some rest up there. I'll get dinner ready right away. Emily sighed deeply. How many times do I have to tell you? As long as you live here, you need to do the housework properly. Get it through your head. Exactly, she is right. This is our home, not yours. If you can't do your part, pack up and leave. How did I get this from my own son as well? When I first came here, things weren't like this. When they worked, I did the housework, and when they were off, they helped out, balancing things well among the three of us. But looking back, that was only in the beginning. As time went by, they completely abandoned doing any housework. I was subtly guided into taking over all the chores. Now, to my son and his wife, I'm nothing but a maid. Maybe that was their plan from the beginning. I began to resent this life. But even in such days, there was one thing I looked forward to. It was chatting with people my age at the grocery store where I worked. At the grocery store, many people around my age were working. Many of them were of the age of having grandchildren. And we were able to talk about various topics such as daily complaints and stories about their grandchildren. My closest friend there was Lisa, who was the same age as me. Did they do something awful to you again? Lisa was always kind enough to worry about me. Hearing that I was being treated as a maid and harassed by my son and his wife, Lisa asked me about it, while expressing her anger toward them. Why don't you leave that house? You have a family home, right? I do, but my sister and her family live there now. My sister lived in our family home with her husband and her child. Well, how about moving in with your sister? If you guys aren't on bad terms. Of course we are close and still communicate frequently. But I don't want my sister's life to be disrupted because of me. Lisa laughed back at that, saying there was no way that would happen. Instead, she told me that it would be better for me to get the heck out of my son and his wife's place. I was on my way home after my work when I received a call from Emily. Mary, where are you now? I just finished work and I'm on my way home. Why? How can you be so relaxed? Did you go into our bedroom? What were you doing in there? It seemed she thought I had gone into their bedroom. I didn't go into your bedroom. I think it's some kind of mistake, Emily. Oh wait. Don't you dare blame it on me. We let you live here and this is how you repay us? Such an old hag. Her sudden change in tone left me speechless. You should just listen to me, old hag. You're just a housemaid who can't even earn much. I'm so sorry about your late husband, having to share his life with such an old hag like you. Then she hung up. Tears flowed naturally from the harshness of her words. The path I usually saw so clearly was blurred today. Just then, my phone rang again. I thought she had more to say despite everything she already said. But when I looked at the phone, it was my sister's name on the screen. Hello? Hi Mary, how are you doing? Wiping away my tears, I answered Jessica's question. Well yes, I'm good. What's up? Mary? Are you crying, maybe? My sister always had a keen intuition and it was hard to fool her. After I told her what happened, I could tell she was angry even over the phone. Mary, why don't you come live with us over here? You shouldn't have to endure such horrible things any longer. You've put up with it for too long already, haven't you? How do you know about this? I'm sorry, Mary. I've known for quite a while that they were harassing you. She had noticed it. When my sister visited us before, she noticed that my expression was different when my son and his wife spoke to me, as if I was scared. She also felt something was off seeing that I was the only one doing everything around the house, which made her suspicious. My husband and Jack also welcome to live with you. Forget about your son and his wife and come live with us. It's what's best for you. For some time now, my sister had been inviting me to live with her in our family home. She said her husband, James, and their child, Jack, were happy to have me. But I didn't want to disrupt their lives, so I kept refusing it. Even so, her kindness in inviting me made me so delighted that I was speechless. Thank you, Jessica. Mary, we'll be waiting for you. After ending the call and arriving home, I saw the living room lights were on. I was late, and they were likely angry. Fearfully, I entered the living room to find them both on the sofa, clearly upset. Hi there. Sorry for being late. I'll start to make dinner now. They just stared at me in silence. What's wrong? Did something bad happen? At my words, they finally reacted. Emily glared at me more sharply than ever, and David immediately shouted, "What the hell are you doing?" Confused. When I asked what was going on, they replied, "It's your fault." What did I do? When I asked for an explanation, Emily accused me of something outrageous. You took money from our account without permission, didn't you? What? Emily showed me the bank statement. A closer look at the bank statement showed that it indeed had $20,000 in it until recently. But this week, the entire $20,000 had been withdrawn, leaving the balance at zero. They looked at me with suspicion. I hurriedly denied it, but Emily shouted at me to stop playing dumb. I saw you. The other day, you were opening our drawer and looking for something. You knew there was an ATM card in there, didn't you? Wait. No, I didn't do that. Yes. You went into our bedroom the other day to look for our ATM card, right? Wait. No, it really wasn't me. As I desperately denied it, my son quipped. You know what? Even if I'm your son, there are things you can't do to me. Stealing money? What were you thinking? You're not my mother anymore. I'm calling the police, so brace yourself. No matter what I said, they didn't believe me, and their abusive words continued until I ran out of the house. And then, ding dong, the bell rang. Who is it? Jessica, it's me. Mary? Wait a moment. When my sister opened the door, what did she think seeing me standing there in a daze? My sister looked so sad and distressed when she saw me. And her husband came out to see what was going on. He was also surprised to see me. They invited me in and led me through to the living room. Did they say something awful to you again? I explained what had happened. Then my sister and her husband's faces turned angry. What were they thinking? They let you do all the housework and even tell lies like that. Mary, please leave that house right away. I'm worried about you enduring anymore. My sister and her husband believed me. They told me to stop enduring and come live with them. Their kindness made me burst into tears. I decided to accept my sister's offer and live with them. But my sister said she couldn't stand what had been done to me and wondered if there was a way to make my son and his wife pay for their actions. Hey, didn't you have a friend who does that kind of work? Can you ask him for help? Yeah, I'll give him a call. A few minutes later. No problem, he'll take care of it. Great, now we just have to wait for the results. Jessica, James, thank you so much. And so, the plan to get back at my son and his wife began. After discussing the plan with my sister and her husband, I decided to return to my son and his wife's house temporarily. 3 days later, when I returned, I was met with a barrage of insults from them. They said to me like, where had I been? Don't slack off on the housework, do the laundry since it was piling up. A series of complaints came up. But I was prepared for this. Seeing my calm expression, they got even more irritated and shouted, criminal, get out. How selfish and unreasonable. What did I do to deserve this? They were the ones who comforted me when I was devastated after losing my husband. I was truly grateful for inviting me to live here. But that treatment was unacceptable. Emily accused me of ruining their family, and David just went along with it. And then, they labeled me a criminal and told me to leave this house. Fine, I would give them what they wanted if they insisted so much. I'll be out by today. But they had no idea, they would regret it if they kept underestimating me like that. I decided to make them regret that they treated me like a criminal. They were taken aback by my swift response. Ignoring them, I packed my belongings and left the house where I had spent hellish days. Moving in with my sister, I found a peaceful life too good to be true compared to my previous one. I had a great and happy time every day. At first, I worried about being a burden to my sister's family, but it turned out to be no problem at all. I didn't have to work, so there was no strain on my body. I did the housework with my sister, and we would sit on the porch together, sipping tea and chatting. Today, too, we were watching TV and eating snacks in the living room. Then, my phone rang. It was my son. Hello? Mom. Help me. Emily is in trouble. Something seemed to happen to Emily, and my son was frantic. What do you mean by trouble? Emily hasn't come home since yesterday. Do you know anything about it? How would I know that? We don't live together anymore, remember? When I said I didn't know, he cried and repeatedly asked, why? I told him to call her himself, but he said she wasn't answering, crying even more. I got tired of dealing with him and hung up. He kept calling me back frantically, but I ignored all of them. My sister sighed. He's really pathetic. Yeah, he is. I agreed with a laugh. Then my sister's phone rang. It was from her husband. Yes. Got it. Thank you, James. Finally, our plan was set in motion. It was time to make them regret everything they did to me. A week later, when I contacted my son, he said, Mom, why was your phone turned off? I called you so many times. His voice was much weaker than before. He said he hadn't gone to work or eaten at all since that call. So what do you want? I thought I'd let you know where Emily is. You know where she is? Tell me. Tell me right now. When my son begged me to tell him where she was, I told him to go to a certain place. An hour later, David arrived where my sister and I were waiting. As David got out of the car, he looked like a completely different person, thin and lifeless. "So, where is Emily?" "She's in that apartment, the room at the end on the second floor." "You'd better hurry." As soon as I told him, he ran towards the room. We followed him up the stairs. Breathless, he reached the door and grabbed the knob, throwing it open as it wasn't locked. Then his wife and her lover, who were hugging each other on the bed in the back of the room, looked at my son. Their eyes met. Emily and her lover were visibly shaken by the sudden intrusion. David, trembling with rage, glared at them. Emily panicked, stammering incoherently. David ignored her, storming into the room with his shoes on, advancing on the two of them. As we watched them from outside, we heard, "Excuse us, let us pass." "Sorry to interrupt you." A group of intimidating men pushed past us into the room. "Excuse me, ladies, you can't see what happens next." One of the men closed the door on us. In fact, those men were debt collectors, coming to collect on the debt Emily had incurred. Emily had been cheating for months and giving money to her lover. Of course, that $20,000 was the money she used. My son happened to look at the bank statement and noticed that the money was missing and told his wife. She blamed it all on me to cover her tracks. And then, relieved that David did not find out about it. She also used her husband's salary and even borrowed more money from a loan shark because it was still not enough. Of course, with all that spending, there was no way she could repay the debt, so she hid herself in her lover's apartment to escape the collectors. We had no idea what was happening inside after the men closed the door on us, but there were screams, cries, and angry shouts flying around. It was clear the room was a scene of chaos. I looked at my sister and said, "I have no choice, right?" As Jessica laughed and said, "It's more what they deserve than what you can't help." Emily's lover jumped naked out of second floor's window when the debt collector wasn't looking. However, he landed poorly and screamed, "Ouch," loudly, and another man who had been waiting in the car got out, quickly captured him, and threw him into the vehicle. On the other hand, after the room turned into a scene of chaos, Emily, whose face was a mess from crying, and David, who had somehow ended up half naked, were taken by three men to their car and driven away to nowhere. A month later, James told us what had happened to the three of them. They were taken to the debt collector's office and pressured to repay the money. But the high debt that Emily had incurred was not an amount that could be easily repaid. So the scariest guy in the office said to them, "Then I'll send you guys out to make some money." And the guy simply said so. The three of them seemed to be taken away somewhere. And now they are still nowhere to be found. No one seems to know when they are able to return. Thus, my long 8-year ordeal with my son and his wife finally ended. "Mary, everything is ready except the main course. Count on me, I'll make the most delicious food for him." Today is Jack's birthday. Celebrating Jack's birthday with food prepared by me and my sister. And there is no trace of the painful days that were there. There is a happy family life. Now I finally have some really happy days ahead of me.